2011, my journey into the online world of WWE games and the core community really began. After creating my own characters on the PSP and Xbox 360 versions of the game for a number of years, I decided to join a little e-federation known as AOW. It was here where I got my first taste for the core community, and I'll be honest, it was a bitter one. It wasn't a very welcoming place that was willing to help new people get better and eventually rise to the top. It was very selfish, very clique-based, and do you want to know who sat on top of that clique as the most praised and glorified of them all? Nic Virtue. My time in AOW was short-lived. Couldn't have been there for longer than 6 weeks, but I built up a strong distaste for the man that they called the cocky heel. I'm not sure if he even remembers having any interactions with me back then, but with every word I received for him, I could just feel that it was condescending and just brushing me aside. After leaving AOW, my journey into core continued. I was part of numerous shows such as TXW, UCW, ICE. I even ran my own show for a little while called POW. But after a good 2-year journey in core, learning all that I could, we arrive at NGC, a show founded and ran by myself. After being in operation for a little while, through the connections of the show of my members, a familiar face ends up arriving on my doorstep. That man was the one and only Nic Virtue. Me and Nic didn't really form any sort of relationship through this. He just gave me his call to work on scenes, and he was just going to be another guy on my show. But this felt good. The same guy who sat on top of his clique 2 years ago while I was at the bottom of the pit was now at the bottom of my pit while I sat on top of my own clique. The tables had turned. It was at this time where things inside NGC started to go a bit haywire. A lot of people didn't agree with the direction I was going in, and tensions were starting to boil. I received a message from Nic during all of this, informing me not to use his core in any sort of match, and that he would do the matches himself, finish up and then leave. Of course, you all know what ended up happening to NGC. We didn't actually even end up getting to the point where Nic was going to have a match. But again, this was more bad taste left in my mouth from the part of Nic. A few months passed by, and Nic uploads a video titled "The Match That Never Happened," and within this video was footage from NGC. It was basically the match that he never got to do in NGC, and now he was doing it, using what NGC did as the hype for the match. I left a comment on this video, being all nice, basically trying to be the most condescending asshole I could possibly be, asking Nic that if he really wanted to use my footage, all he had to do was ask. Nic didn't take too kindly to this, jumping down my throat, telling me that he didn't need my permission to use the footage of his own core and all this other stuff, leaving me with the most sour taste I have ever had for this man in my mouth. Then, following a few bad conversations, building myself up to commit this act, I strike the video. A few days later, I learned that the video was back up, and I got even more pissed off about it. So I then proceeded to flag many other videos, to the point where Nic's channel was taken down, and this is where the great divide occurred. You had people who knew Nic as this stuck-up asshole type of guy who deserved everything he got on those days, and those people took my side. You also had people who thought I had always been a dick and that I took it too far in this situation, and those people took Nic's side. This divide continued to grow and grow to where people from one side wouldn't even interact with people on the other side anymore. Long-term friends cut off because of a situation between me and Nic. It even went as far as the fans being involved, picking a side and not communicating with the other. It was a really dark and crappy time for everyone, and this lasted for a good while, the better part of 6 months at least. Eventually, people began communicating with each other again, and a few people came up with the idea to do a community-based show called Bury the Hatchet, where there would be many matches of people from both sides of the divide competing in a friendly show to let everyone know that things had been squashed. Unfortunately, things obviously really weren't that squashed at this point, as the show never really came to be as it was first envisioned. But what happened then was pretty unexpected. Me and Nic came together by ourselves with hardly anyone else really knowing, and in secret produced this match and the 3 match promos to go along with it. We dropped the first match promo on July 20th, 2014, and just 2 weeks later, the match was streamed live to around 200 plus people. We did something very special that day, something that I'm really proud of still to this day. Whether we felt it or not, we were public figures to a lot of people. A lot of people looked up to us for a variety of different reasons, and while in that position, we both done some very childish and immature things. When me and Nick came together to do this event, we didn't just make the match and that was it. We talked about our issues, talked about our wrongdoings, and apologised to one another for what we had done. We truly did bury the hatchet in the build up to the match you saw. And then 2 years after that, after I had joined and started to rise up in FAM, I had the pleasure of bringing Nick into FAM for the very first time, and what a special moment that was for everyone. That reaction he received for his debut was phenomenal and something that nobody expected. It truly did blow the roof off the place. And then 18 months on from that, at the biggest stage in WWE Games history, Faniversary 4, we got to come together one more time to put on an absolute clinic of a match. Now with a much better and calm relationship than the one we had the first time we did a match. The best way to describe Nic Virtue wouldn't be to call him my friend. Instead, he is my rival, in every sense of the word. From the day I stepped foot into the world of Core, mine and Nic Virtue's paths have been tangled together, and no matter what interactions we had with each other, we both seem to grow and learn an awful lot. I have benefited as a creator, I have benefited as a character, but most importantly, I have benefited as a human being for knowing Nic Virtue and having him as my rival for the last 6 years. You succeeding, you changing the way everyone plays the game, you becoming an icon, only pushed and strived me to do better and to want to top you. I call you my rival over my friend because there aren't that many friends that can do that much for one person through their shared desire for wanting to do better than the other. You've left a special mark not only on this community, but on FAM as well, and I have all the respect in the world for you for doing that. I wish you all the best of luck with whatever you go on to next, and hope that our paths cross again one day. Thank you, Nick.